Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Brittany and this is Luna. And make sure to hit the subscribe button for me. So today we're going to be talking about some of the most haunted places in Connecticut. Starting off is Remington Arms. Now, this location has seen quite a fair share of fatal accidents. Just a few of the deaths here include 2 employees who fell into a giant vat of molten metal. And then there were several more in an explosion in 1942. Now, this explosion occurred at the very height of the wartime efforts, and it was right on the production floor. 7 employees died, and around 80 suffered other injuries. It's often that people will see shadowy figures on the factory floor and believe that they are the spirits of the workers that lost their lives. Next, we have Dudley Castle. Now, the alleged curse of Dudley Castle goes back to England, 1510, where Edmund Dudley was beheaded after making plans to overthrow King Henry VIII. At that time, it was believed that a curse was placed on all of the Dudley family members, both present and future. As in normal curse fashion, it doesn't just end with the current living members. So fast forward a few hundred years later, members of the Dudley family came and settled in Cornwall, Connecticut. This area was dubbed Dudleytown, and ever since then, the area was known by tales of the paranormal. Several people that lived in Dudleytown said they saw demons, and they ended up going insane and taking their own lives. The accounts vary with this, so you have to kind of take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. However, there's still other strange things. Hikers and other visitors to the area, including demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, captured very unexplainable events, including strange orbs of light. Also, weirdly enough, no wildlife living in the area. I don't think that I've ever been to a place where there's no wildlife. Next, we have what is formerly known as the Curtis House Restaurant and Inn. Now, this 1754 house in Woodbury is ranked one of the most haunted inns in the country. It's also said to be the oldest inn in Connecticut. There are numerous spirits that are said to haunt the building, and some of them even date back over 200 years. That says that if you stay in one of the rooms overnight there, that you might encounter a man in 17th or 18th century clothing. If you are in the liquor room, that you might come face to face with a Confederate soldier. Also, a female ghost that is known to disturb guests in the middle of the night. There's a ghost of a former worker, Joseph Hardesty. Along with that, there's spirits all over this inn. You will hear strange sounds and disembodied voices, also footsteps, a constant feeling that someone is in the room, and this unexplicable heavy feeling. Next, we have the Conley Inn. There have been mysterious figures reported in the room and disembodied voices. You know, all the good ghost stuff that makes someplace haunted. But one of the most known spirits is that of the owner, Alice Conley. She's rumored to have died in room 353, and she still checks in on her home, her beloved hotel. The ghost is known to wander throughout the hotel. She's particularly active in 353. There's also a rocking chair that sits in the hotel lobby that was Alice's, and there's even a sign that tells guests to not sit in it. It's been witnessed rocking on its own without anybody sitting in it. Which, funny enough, when I was only 2 or younger than 2, so I don't really remember this, but my mom had told me this story numerous times. And in our house where we lived in Schenectady, there was an old man who had died in the house. And in the basement, there was his old rocking chair. So my mom would go down there every once in a while and, you know, sit in the chair and, you know, rock me and stuff. And one time she saw the man. She'd only see him ever in the basement, but she saw the man rocking in the chair, and then he just vanished. And she would see the man just watching when she was down there, and she'd also see the chair rocking with nobody in it. But she said that he was a very nice spirit. He didn't intend to harm. It was kind of like, you know, that was his, almost like his safe space, because I'm pretty sure, I can't remember, but I think he died of old age, but I'm not entirely sure on that. But he never tried to harm any of us. And we only lived there for like 2 years. It wasn't this crazy amount of time. Next, we have Norwich State Hospital. It's not uncommon for a hospital to be haunted because, you know, a lot of people who die in hospitals, they're not dying the easiest of deaths. So there can be some trauma left behind or some unfinished business. So the Norwich State Hospital in Preston first opened up in 1904, and it had 95 patients. Over time, it expanded and ended with 20 buildings, over 2,000 patients, which is crazy. It literally started with 95 and expanded to over 2,000.
This is a lot.
A lot of these patients were mentally ill, but there were some that had tuberculosis, chemical dependency, and they were also admitted. The first recorded death occurred the same year that this hospital opened. And this occurred because one of the patients took their own life by hanging themselves. 2 employees lost their lives in a hot water explosion in 1919. And there have been numerous deaths in the hospital since then, many by suicide. The hospital closed for the final time in 1996, and there have been numerous attempts to sell the property, but they failed. Said that this is one of the most haunted locations in Connecticut and one of the most haunted hospitals in the country. The most active spot of this hospital, though, is the Salmon Building. This one housed criminally insane patients. Eventually, it was a prison. It had steel doors and bars. And it's not unusual to hear disembodied screams coming from this building. Many of the patients here were tortured and abused, and there were barbaric practices occurring. Patients would be subjected to starvation, packing them in ice, beating them, and even sexually abusing them. Then we have the Guntown Cemetery in Naugatuck. Probably pronounced that wrong. The cemetery was established in 1790. And there's no urban legends here or myths, but there have been numerous paranormal occurrences that happen in this graveyard. People often see a small boy playing near an old wall by the entrance, an apparition of a man carrying a lantern and leading a horse. Also, people often hear sounds of children laughing. This has also been investigated by Ed and Lorraine Warren and was deemed an official haunted location.
It might be a ghost passing through you.
Next, we have the Snedeker House, which was the house that was inspired the movie The Haunting in Connecticut. So this all started in 1986 when the Snedeker family moved to a small town in Southington, Connecticut. So the family was struggling financially. Their oldest son was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So the family jumped at the chance to rent this home that was located near the hospital where he was receiving treatment. They wanted to be close to him. But shortly after moving in, the dad started coming across embalming tools and tables in the basement. So it turned out that the home was actually used as a funeral home for years. Carmen, the mother, started experiencing small things at first. Items would go missing and she'd hear strange sounds. However, over time, the activity would become more intense. And the children started seeing things around the house. They're seeing strangers walking around their home. The oldest son, who was going through the chemotherapy, started to behave differently. He was acting different. During one of his episodes, he actually attacked his cousin with the intent to assay her. A family had him arrested and hospitalized. He was later diagnosed to be schizophrenic. He started getting better, but then as soon as he went back into that house, he started getting bad again. Now, paranormal activity continued to happen, and the family became terrified of what was happening, so they did reach out to Ed and Lorraine Warren. If you guys want me to do a whole video on that case, let me know in the comments down below. That's all I have for Connecticut right now. Make sure to like this video for me, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, I love you guys. Bye!